I am delighted to be joined by Troy Grant. Troy Grant is a friend of mine for a long time now, a long time. And I asked Al when we first started talking, do you have any wonderful childhood Christmas memory? Al remembers poker games and family arguments and people leaving in fights during his Christmas morning. Do you have any comparable memories?
Well, it's funny. I grew up in Clovis, New Mexico, and so, but my mom is from Louisiana, so she brought that Louisiana traditions, lots of Southern Cajun-style food that was being cooked. So that meant getting up early in the morning. And one of my most memorable Christmases was that we got up early in the morning and started grinding and cutting and doing whatever it took to get that meal prepared. And so that meant an early morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, time frame to get up. Well, that was before food processors came out, and so we thought we'll get our mom a Christmas gift. We'll start this new tradition of getting a Christmas gift and opening it up Christmas Eve, so that we gave her a food processor.
I see how you're thinking.
So we thought we'd get her to open that food processor, use it that Christmas. But she fooled us, and she opened the Christmas gift, thanked us for it, was loving about it, wrapped it back up, and then wanted to reopen it up the next day. So we had to wait a whole other year before we could use the food processor. It was back to the cutting.
So you had to do all that work.
Yes.
And here you got your mom, something that. All right, yeah. I guess the biggest tradition I had. I guess I'm a bit self-absorbed and selfish by nature. But there was this one year at Christmas. I must have been like 12 or 13, and I got this sweatshirt that I like, the hoodie sweatshirt. I got a book. I remember the book was called In Search of Excellence. It's like a business book about companies that were doing really good. And then I got this Alice Cooper album. For you kiddies at home, an album was this big vinyl thing like this that you would play. And Alice Cooper, how would you describe Alice Cooper? He's just kind of a freaky guy. This is during my rebellious stage. But so I got the Alice Cooper album for my sister. I got the hooded sweatshirt for my brother, and I got the book for my mom. And then Christmas morning, I'm lying on the couch, wearing the sweatshirt, reading that book, listening to the Alice Cooper album. And they're kind of asking,
wow.
That was pretty selfish, wasn't it?
You had the snake and everything too?
No, I didn't. Welcome to my nightmare.
Oh boy.
I'm 18. I don't know what I want. Kids, when you're graduating or when you're at your final day of school, what's that? School's out for the summer. That is Alice Cooper. He's a little over the hill right now. But anyways, so. But you work with an organization, you wear a lot of different hats, but you work with Pathways Academy in their mentoring program. What is that all about, and what need is that fulfilling?
Well, Pathways Danbury is a mentoring program that's about 14 years old. It was founded by some churches in the community and a foundation within this community that were looking at working towards making our young men in our community Christ-centered, but taking those young men who had the ability to trust God and to do good.
Okay.
Simply. And so that with those words in mind and that vision in mind, they set out to match and build a relationship with a young man within the community starting in 5th grade, and who would be matched with a businessman, faith-centered, Christ-centered man within the community that would journey with that young man from 5th grade to 12th grade.
Okay.
And they started with little humble beginnings and had about 10 guys that they started with, 5 to 10 guys they started with, and they were going to walk with these young men and journey with them and mentor them along the journey of life from 5th grade to 12th grade. And when these young men completed this program, the relationship was certainly not ended. It was just the beginning. They were going to be, their rite of passage into the community was to introduce them to some young men who journeyed the path and were successful. And this success meant graduating from high school, producing young men within the community.
Okay.
And beating all the stereotypes and all the statistics of young men within the community. And so 14 years ago, the program was started as a mentoring program and has grew into to 41 young men now within the community, being mentored by men in the community, and it's a wonderful organization.
What need do you think that this is satisfying, and what's sort of your target group as far as the young men that you're dealing with?
We're taking at-risk young men. We're not cooking.
What does that mean?
At-risk has these factors where this young man in his current situation will not succeed. He'll be a statistic.
Okay.
Before he would succeed.
And what are some of the statistics?
What are some of the statistics? We got a dropout rate that is insurmountable here, and especially specifically in the greater Danbury area. It's incredible across the laid across the overlay of our national statistics. 50% dropout rate for our young men. Typically, a lot of times African American, Latino, some of the minority cultures who are not meeting the standards. And some statistics show that our young men, by the time they're 18, will not make it to their 18th birthday, or they'll be in prison, or they'll be homeless because they're just nothing able to keep them on the road track, hold them accountable.
I think, and Al, I want to get your kind of insight in some of this as well, but it seems as if many of these young men are coming from homes where it's a single-parent home. Usually it's the mother that's raising the kids, but even sometimes it's a grandmother. And there isn't a dominant male role model in the family. And so there's a disconnect there for a young man who's trying to see what does it really mean to be a man.
Yeah. Right. They have, that is one of the major things, is that the absence of the father has made it impossible for these young men to get a good grip on life. It's the mother or the guardian who is providing for this young man, is doing everything they can, but they're still missing the sphere of influence that is so needed for these young men to understand the concept of being a man in this society in these times.
Yeah. You're familiar with Pathway Academy?
Somewhat. Now, with Pathways, is it just Danbury, or is there other pathways throughout the state, throughout the country?
It's just in Danbury currently, but our students come from the greater Danbury area. We have a couple of students who are living in Waterbury at the time, or in Bethel, or but mostly are in the Danbury area, because most of our resources and there are some requirements that must happen within the integrity of the program that have to happen in Danbury, or do happen in Danbury. There's a requirement that they must attend Bible study, a weekly Bible study, and that happens on Thursday. And if they cannot do that, they cannot participate within the program realms, and that keeps the integrity. But it is a transferable ministry based on.
Because I was saying, would you try to use this as a model in different areas? Like, for instance, I was raised in the North End section of Hartford. Definitely, they can definitely use something like that up in that area. You got Bridgeport, you got New Haven, Stanford, Norwalk, areas where you talk about the dropout rate in Danbury. The dropout rate in Hartford is off the chart because a lot of the things you said here in terms of single-family homes, crime, drugs, everything that is out there that will deter or harm or hamper a young male from achieving the goal of graduation is out there. The streets start calling you. You're going to answer to it, especially when you don't want to go to school, or if you don't have a male or father in there telling you to take your butt to school and do the right thing.
And even just modeling what it means to be a man. Modeling getting up every day, going to work, bringing home a paycheck, providing for the family. That I think is oftentimes what's missing. I've sort of, obviously I'm not nearly as involved in Pathway Academy as you are, but I have been impressed with the organization on a couple levels. One, it sort of started out as a mentoring program, but it's kind of evolved into the Pathways Academy, which is a showcase school, really. When you go, it's on
Rose Street here in Danbury.
Rose Street, and it's a former furniture warehouse sort of thing, and it's it's been completely refitted to be a absolutely world-class educational environment. I mean, these kids have their own laptops. They wear uniforms, right? They have to wear a certain uniform to go to school. They plug in their laptop in these, you know, just absolutely gorgeous school settings. They get individual attention. Actually, Ivan Alsamy, who's the founder of this program, his wife is one of the reading instructors there.
Yes.
I think, what's her name again? We had her on the show.
Search.
No, Ivan's wife is one of the reading instructors at the school. But the one guy, the alpha male, is the principal, a gentleman by the name of Cedric Rice.
Yes.
Ced Rice. Now, Cedric Rice is not a small man. He's a big man. But he's a former Division I college football player. He played at Kansas State University. And he's quite the athlete. He's a very good golfer as well. But the love that he has for these kids is impressive, and there's accountability too. You know, they're all about getting their homework done, learning responsibility, learning the right work skills that they need, and it's pretty impressive place, Pathway Academy.
And it's Pathway Academy. It's started off as they're in their second year. Each year they'll be adding a new 6th grade class. So we're in 6th and 7th grade class currently. And it's students who, like I said, in their current situation will not have been given the attention that and the advocacy that these young men are given. And they're walking through life. And the goal is that when they get into 8th grade, that when these young men graduate from 8th grade, they will be presented to another system or the public system or wherever that they may go from 8th grade. We go from 6th, 7th, and 8th. That they will be bigger and better students, bigger and better citizens in their community based upon this loving logic and also being mentored and advocated for as the Christ-centered young men that God has called them to be, and so that's what we're looking toward. All with this in mind of they trust God and they're going to do good.
Wow. All right, I want to expand a little bit here because what is the umbrella organization called? The Jericho Partnership?
Partnership, yes, Jericho Partnership.
So under the umbrella that is the Jericho Partnership, you have this mentoring program, Pathway Mentoring Program, Pathway Academy. That's a big part of it.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about this organization called Young Life, and then also about the Overflow Shelter that they have. Why don't you start with the shelter?
The Jericho Partnership has many sections within it of collaborations that have come together under this one umbrella called Jericho Partnership.
All right.
The Overflow Shelter is works in conjunction with the city shelter.
Now it's on Maple. Is that Maple Avenue?
Maple Avenue.
Okay.
And it's right behind Omaha Beef, and it's just right section right there in the heart of
Kitty corner from Dunkin' Donuts.
That is correct. That's correct.
All right.
And
I know where all the Dunkin' Donuts. Don't ask me why.
But it becomes a place where when the city shelters and the other shelters in the community are full, that there's one more place that we can meet the needs for the homeless in this community.
Okay.
And when it's used, that's a good thing. When it's not used, that's even a better thing. That means other services are being used, so it just works. And
so it is what it sounds like, the overflow shelter. So when these other shelters don't have beds,
correct,
like the community shelter,
Danbury shelters, right?
Okay, and does the Dorothy Day have a shelter?
Dorothy Day has one. The First Congregational has one as well as the Overflow.
Okay,
there's several in the area.
All right, so there's need for more. They're there and they're ready to provide it. Now, we were talking a little bit about the economy being down and it being at a tough time. And have you noticed an increase in people that are using the shelters, or is it about, like other years?
This is the second year in existence for it. So, with everything that you do, you want to do with excellence, but you want it to be bigger and better each time. And so it's in the first few weeks of opening, and so it's kind of an ebb and flow of who uses the shelter, and it is at an as-needed basis. But these cold nights like tonight, it may be needed because more people with the economic times, they're finding creative ways to survive, but cost of oil, heating, lighting, those different things don't always
Yeah, you were saying that you notice a little bit more towards the end of the month than the beginning of the month.
And that's just working with shelters or past in other communities. The middle of the month, everybody's kind of got their fill going, and then rent's due,
Right.
Bills are due. You kind of get big creative of what's going to happen, and usually there's an increase, and we don't need to sleep on the fact that there's a growing increase of our of teenagers and our women and children that are being in need of shelters. But our current overflow shelter is a men's based overflow shelter for the need that we're trying to meet now.
Wow.
But I mean, I do know of stories of a particular young man within the community that was sleeping in open trucks and different things like that at night.
Wow.
Because found himself in a situation where he was homeless.
Wow.
And it's a growing need in our community, and as Danbury, and I'm glad for the vision of the Jericho Partnership to say this is a need that we want to meet within our community, and the churches and foundations they call themselves Jericho Partnership coming together and say we're going to fund some to put some funds into making this this problem that we have a solution to transfer.
So the partnership is a series of churches
and foundations within the Danbury and Greater Danbury area.
Okay, I know New Hope Baptist Church.
New Hope Baptist Church.
We had Reverend Pitts on.
Yes. Wilton Baptist, Emmanuel Lutheran Church, Walnut Hill Community Church, Christ the Shepherd Church, Victory Christian Church are some of the partnership churches that are here in the community who are
and really, I know he's a very humble man. Probably doesn't want to be touted too much, but really, Bill Beatty is really one of the moving forces behind all this originally. Is that accurate to say? He's been on the show before too, Bill Beatty. So, well, that's interesting. There's a network of different shelters in Danbury where folks can go, so it's kind of like it's essentially covered. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, I mean, it's everybody coming together, working for the common good.
Yeah.
Because it's needed. Like when I talked to Mr. Hines, he told me that year after year he hopes the level decreases, but he's seen it increasing. So when you see it increasing, that just means there's more people out there suffering.
Yeah, like you said in the mission statement, they said, we look forward to the day when we open our doors and there's no one that has this need, what they needed.
Yeah.
I know the Bridgeport Rescue Mission with Terry Wilcox, who all the beds are filled. They're having people sleeping on the floor in the hallway, and they won't turn anyone away. And the need is really spiking.
Yeah.
So again, if you're out there during this holiday season, by the way, you have your phone number
203-791-1180.
791-1180. I think David can put that up on the screen too. So if they want to get in touch with you, that's the best number to get in touch with.
Do you have a website as well?
JerichoPartnership.org, I believe it's the
JerichoPartnership.org. Okay, we'll make sure to get that up there as well.
Yeah, we'll try and get that too. All right, now, truth be known, I know a lot about Young Life, but I think Young Life is the best. This mug right here has got the little Young Life logo on it, and I know that's another sort of one of your hats as well, that you're involved with Young Life. But for the uninitiated, what the heck is Young Life? It sounds kind of nebulous.
The Young Life is, the best way to describe Young Life is a place for kids to come to be kids, and it's organized chaos.
Organized chaos. Okay. I know that the guy who founded Young Life, Jim Rayburn, right, said one of his sort of themes was it's a sin to bore a kid with the gospel.
Yes.
And so that's his approach. He said they gotta care how much they got to know how much you care before they care how much you know.
There you go.
And you got to earn the right to be heard. And you got to reach out and you got to meet them on their own turf. I can remember growing up, and we had this video clip from Belize. This project down in Belize. Well, that was my former Young Life leader from suburban Chicago back in the '70s. This guy named Tim Tam.
Okay.
So that's how we sort of got hooked up because we stayed in touch. But he would show up like I was playing on, like a freshman lacrosse team, and here would be this guy that would show up at a practice for the dopey freshman lacrosse team. I was like, don't you have any friends your own age? What are you doing here? And but they would do. They had some of the I don't know, just most engaging and it's almost like a bit of a mentoring program where you have someone that's showing an interest in you, and he comes to your sporting events, and he just wants to kind of earn the right to be heard and share the greatest message that you can ever hear, that Christ came, and that's what we're celebrating at Christmas, in the form of a baby, but he came that he could have a relationship with us, and that Christianity isn't just a religion, a series of do's and don'ts, but it's actually having this relationship with your Creator. Yes. And I think that's what Young Life tries to share with kids.
Yes, and they meet weekly. In fact, I just left that event.
You at club tonight?
At club tonight.
Okay.
And that's what we call our weekly meetings. And it's currently, Young Life is the overall name of the organization, and that is meeting the needs and working with our high school students. Okay. Wildlife is working with middle school students. And as these organizations, we meet, and there's various times, they call it club.
Right.
And what they do is they have adult volunteers within the community who once again are journeying with the young people in this male and female, one-on-one relationships, male on male, female on female. But they come together and they it's where they can invite their non-Christian friends to a safe environment, and they have fun.
So let me just kind of as a example, tonight's club. What was the skit? What was the
tonight's club was different. It was had a lot to do with Christmas, because it's the Christmas club, and so I saw the students coming together, and it looked like they were going to have a white elephant gift exchange.
Right.
Now they had a lot of size presents that were boxed up, gift wrapped, and various sizes, and I'm not quite sure what they were about to do, but I left right in the middle of them doing. But they were circling the wagons around these gifts. But if it's not fun, it's not Young Life.
Yeah, I mean, some of these it'll sound kind of silly, and maybe it doesn't translate. But some of these skits that they'll come up with for high school age kids, they'll have these huge sweatpants and sweatshirts, and then they'll blow up balloons, and they'll have two teams, and you take the smallest petite little girl in the room, and you put them in this sweatsuit, and they have the team that can blow up the most balloons and stick them in this sweatsuit. They come out looking like the Michelin Man, wins. But they take it one step further, and the way they count the balloons is he takes a needle and starts poking the balloons, and boom, 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 boom. And invariably, the brunt of some of these skits is the kid that they bring, and they don't try to embarrass them, but they do have some fun with this. And if you can indulge me, one other one that I thought was so funny, it's cruel but funny, it'd be around Halloween time, and they'd have a caramel apple eating contest. So you'd have 3 kids, and they'd come out, and you'd have apple number 1, apple number 2, and apple number 3, and you take the 3 kids sort of out of the room, and then everyone in the crowd would know, okay, this is a caramel covered apple, this is a caramel covered apple, but this is a caramel covered onion.
Oh.
And so this side of the room, there might be 100 kids in a room or someone's basement or something. This side of the room, you gotta cheer for this guy, this guy, this guy, and everyone's in on it, so they know Joe's about to eat an apple, and they all get really pumped, and the one who wins is going to get free McDonald's tonight, and they start going, and then he starts eating, and all of a sudden it's an onion. Very funny. But so that's what you've been involved with too. Is Young Life?
Yes, and it's building a relationship with kids to help them grow in their faith. The mission, and so we do that, like you said, we earn the right to be heard.
Right.
We earn the right to present the gospel by going where the kids are. We're not sitting in the office waiting for the kid to show up.
Right.
That's not where they're. We're going after that furthest kid out there. We're going after that kid that will never ever dawn the doors of a church, but we're channeling them to the church.
Right. And if it's a kid that's involved with skateboarding, then you're going to the skateboard party. The kid that wants to do paintballing, then you're doing paintballing.
Yes.
If it's a kid that's struggling with whatever he's struggling with, they're going to go there and they're going to meet him on their own turf.
Yes.
I think it's neat.
Because once you make that connection on that level, it makes talking about the gospel, talking about anything that much easier. Because you made that connection with him on his level. He respects that, and the bond is there. Once you make that bond, it's all gravy.
It's pretty neat because we're talking a little bit about Bridgeport, but we started a Young Life down in Norwalk and then down in Bridgeport, and these are some pretty rough neighborhoods. I mean, rough. I mean, we had kids who were in our Young Life club one week, and they were shot and dead by the end of the next week. And that's just some examples. But it was great. And some of these kids, I still have a Super Bowl party at my house every year, and that's our one sort of touch time where everyone's got to go somewhere for the Super Bowl. So we have a party at our house, and it's just great. I mean, it's really neat. It's an opportunity. It's almost a synthesis of this mentoring program and also, sharing the gospel, because you get to reach out to these young men at an age where they might not have another male role model in their life. And you get to not just say, hey, get a job, stay in college, be a good kid, but you say, do all that stuff, be a productive member of society, but also I've found this relationship with Jesus Christ, and it's been the foundation of my life. Like the Bible talks about, building your house on the rock instead of the shifting sand. And when the economy goes in the hopper and difficult times come, if you build your house on the rock, I'm kind of preaching to myself right now. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But I think that's true, and it's just a great opportunity. They talk about Young Life. Every kid. What is
everywhere for eternity.
Every kid, everywhere for eternity, and they're focused like a laser on the youth, and I think it's just been a great program.
And I'm just happy because my real job is I'm paid to hang out with kids.
Yeah.
I'm paid to have fun every day. My job is new and exciting because I'm meeting new kids and hanging out with them. And the thing about it is that our success comes from we love them regardless of their response to the gospel.
Right.
But we're still earning that right to be heard. We're still walking with them. We're still walking the journey, and we get to have fun.
Yeah.
And like you said at the beginning, it's a sin to bore kids with the gospel, and we're having fun, and we're walking, and we're ushering kids to the feet of the cross, and we're loving it, and it's taking those adult volunteers who love kids, who love Christ, and who are willing to give of themselves and losing their cool in order to hang around with some knuckleheads, as I call them.
Talk a little bit about Young Life's camping program, because I know that's kind of it's not just these weekly clubs, which is, a club meeting would be somewhere, usually you meet in someone's basement, or it could be a community center or something like that. You come in, and we actually had a show on this. Tim Vickers was the leader, so he showed a Young Life club. The skit for that night was frozen turkey bowling. But he took it the next step where he had a cordless drill, because you got to have holes in your bowling ball, right? So they had the frozen turkey, they did the drills in the bowling ball, and then they, had frozen turkey bowling. So
nice.
I just think of these parents where the high school freshman young lady comes home. How was Young Life tonight? Well, fine. What'd you do? Well, they bowled frozen turkeys. I thought this was some sort of Christian group. Well, it is, but it's hard to explain. But so you have the weekly clubs. Then you have a campaigner, which is more sort of a Bible study, a little bit more. That's
so we go deeper with our students in the gospel.
And then talk a little bit about this camp.
We have camping facilities that are state-of-the-art resorts. And like I said, we talked about Jim Rayburn, our founder for Young Life, which is a 60-year-old organization. His philosophy and his mantra was that adults should not be the only ones that have a place to go away that are resorts and to be able to have fun. Right. So these camping facilities, properties were built up, and our closest property that we have is Lake Champion, and it has everything that you want to be a kid in a resort. It's there, and
23-person hot tub.
Nice.
Hot tub.
That neans constant supervision. Because these are co-ed camps. I'm just saying. I'm not saying, but I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
We have jet skis are being pulled, being pulled along. Tubes are being pulled. Jet skis. We have zip lines. We have rope courses that are. I mean, I was in the military, and we have rope courses that are better. That are at these camps that are better than some of our military training facilities.
Didn't some West Point cadets actually set up the ropes course?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I mean, and you get a kid from Danbury that goes to get them on this rope course and get them through all the successful obstacles. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And they're fit for life. They'll walk with you anywhere if you can do that. We have all of these different things: rock climbing wall, a gymnasium. Kids in Danbury love to play basketball. They'll play basketball 24 hours if you let them. We have the facilities to be able to do that. And we have near Port Jervis, New York. Camping property called Lake Champion, and each summer we take we have 13 weeks of summer camp that are available to us. We take a week, and we gear it as the best week of your life.
Yeah,
the best week of your life, and it's where kids can go and get away and be fun and have the opportunity to be a kid, and all these things are happening, and the gospel is being spread throughout that time. And they're incredible. Kids usually do not want to come home from that week. They're trying to figure out, how can I stay, how can I come back next week, and it is an incredible time, and we get to do it each year. We get to bring a group of students, bus loads of students that want to go. We have other properties available to us. We have Saranac Village in New York is another one. We have Sharp Top in Georgia, which is also a place that they go. And we bring kids, and we raise money so that the kids can go to camp. And be kids.
Yeah.
And
there's the one at Saranac Village, which is up in the Adirondack Mountains. They have the parasailing.
Yes.
What you see like from Acapulco or something like that, where you get pulled in a parachute behind a speedboat on a lake, and you get some kids. They're like, whoa! You just kind of blow their mind. And then there's some ranches out in Colorado that are just some of the most beautiful Rocky Mountain scenery you can imagine. And they have horses and jeep rides, so all sort of a Western thing. And there's even one camp out in British Columbia called Malibu, where you cannot drive there. You have to take a boat to get there.
Really?
Yeah, and some of the stories behind how Young Life has secured some of these properties are really quite miraculous. The one in British Columbia was owned by this kind of very rich jet-setting guy, and he just left it. It was his private place, like John Wayne and the kind of the 60s, jet setting. They would end up there because it was a really exclusive place. And the guy just got bored with it and left it. The yacht filled with snow and sunk to the bottom of that little harbor they have there. And Young Life came in and got it for a song and changed it into a Young Life camp. And it's been used ever since. And you go a little further, too, because these kids come out, and Troy, who's been hanging with these guys the whole year, then goes out for a week at camp where they're 24/7, hanging out together, and then he comes back with these kids, and he's there for them when they're in trouble and got a court date coming up, or he's there for them when they want to get their driver's license for the first time and they've never driven. He's there for them when grades come out and what it means to make sure you have the good grades. So this isn't like Camp Waka Waka, where you go out there and you do some macrame and you have a great time and you come back, but Young Life really, walks with these kids. Yes. And then one other step, too, I could do a whole show on Young Life, but at these camps, they have waitresses and people that clean the toilets and people that work as lifeguards down at the waterfront, and those are all high school kids or kids that were in high school that are now in college that are on work crew. And they're volunteering for a whole month there. And so they're learning what it means to work with other Christians and stuff like that and serve these kids. So, they can go to camp and maybe make a decision for Christ, grow in their faith, and go back and be on work crew. And it's just a great thing.
Now, what's the turnaround? How many people who go through the program come back and volunteer with Young Life?
That is the ideal situation, is how this cycle of student going through Young Life, coming back, serving, volunteering, maybe even coming on staff.
Right.
That's a good cycle for a young life volunteer.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And it usually works in lots of areas, and we're seeing it more and more. But it really is a thing of beauty when it happens in our urban areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Urban areas, because it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You have to really have a calling and a passion, and a coming together of those two to be able to do it. But it happens, and so we're really glad to be a part of that, to walk with a young person who has done that. And so I'm always looking for a person to take my place.
Yeah.
And so looking for that next Troy Grant, that next Tim Vickers, that next Marty Heiser, that next person that's going to come and say, I want to be with kids.
Our guest tonight has been Troy Grant. Troy wears a lot of different hats. He works primarily with the Pathway Mentoring Program. That's one of his jobs under the Jericho Partnership, which works throughout Danbury, and also Pathways Academy on Rose Street. In Danbury. Go by there. Just take a look inside. It's impressive.